Trade discussions involving Pascal Siakam have dominated the news cycle over the past few weeks, and the Atlanta Hawks were a team that were named as a potential destination for Pascal in pretty well every report. However, after the team has extended Dejounte Murray and talks seem to have fizzled out, doesn't seem like Atlanta's a proper destination, but other teams are now being named in multiple different reports about Pascal Siakam potentially getting dealt. So we'll break all those teams down, as some of them are strange, some of them are frustrating if you're a Toronto Raptor fan, or I guess just me, as I still have disdain for the LA Clippers. So we'll dive into all that, but let's first discuss the team that has been brought up in the rumor mill, the report mill, left, right, and center. It's the Atlanta Hawks. And Jake Fisher came out and said that even the rising noise about Toronto forward Pascal Siakam has seemed to quiet. The Hawks and Raptors have discussed various concepts to send Siakam to Atlanta in recent weeks, sources have said. However, these conversations have not generated any forward progress as of late. Elsewhere with the Hawks, there continues to be optimism around the league. Personnel familiar with the situation, Atlanta will come to terms with a contract extension involving all-star guard Dejounte Murray. So that came out basically last night. Jake Fisher basically breaking down how the Hawks, they want Pascal Siakam. Mark Stein has said, the Hawks want Siakam, but the Raptors don't seem that willing to move him, given the potential packages the Hawks had to offer. And personally, given the construction of some of the deals we've heard, I am happy the Toronto Raptors declined these potential offers from Atlanta. Sure, Kobe Buffkin would be cool. AJ Griffin would be cool. I'm not discrediting any of those young players. Dejounte Murray's a very strong point guard. All those types of things. But for Pascal Siakam, I'm saying no to those types of packages that have come out. So happy those deals didn't go down. And basically what Jake Fisher said, the trade talks fizzled out. And then, what do you know? Today, news came out the Atlanta Hawks, all-star Dejounte Murray, ended up finalizing a 4-year, $120 million contract. So, veteran matchman, he got a max deal, given his what he was capable of earning. So, the Raptors can't really acquire him now for the next few months, so I'd imagine potential Atlanta Hawks trades just aren't going to happen unless we're going the DeAndre Hunter route, which I don't imagine will be the case. So, we can write the Atlanta Hawks off the list. Everyone that was frustrated with those trade packages, because reports were coming out left, right, and center, regarding that potential situation. They'll be happy that the Hawks deals are potentially off the table. But now we have an even more frustrating, at least one out of the few teams, an even more frustrating team to deal with, as one team, one squad that is obsessed with Toronto Raptors 2019 championship caliber players. I've discussed it on multiple videos over the past 4 seasons, but the LA Clippers have shown interest in Pascal Siakam, according to Zach Lowe. Now, the Clippers have had interest in Pascal Siakam once they saw that dynamic duo of Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam absolutely dominate the NBA playoffs. I mean, their scoring numbers were, in comparison to Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, I think they were the second highest scoring duo since those two guys were out there running through the Eastern Conference. So, Kawhi and Pascal Siakam complemented each other very nicely. It makes sense why the LA Clippers are just always trying to get Pascal Siakam down there to LA. We've heard multiple reports of this over the past few years. I don't imagine this is anything groundbreaking, and the Clippers just don't have the assets to get a deal done. I mean, the Raptors have had interest in Paul George in history in the past. He was almost a Toronto Raptor twice. He said it on a podcast, so that's that, right? Like, there might be front office interest in Paul George, but Paul George straight up for Paul. How am I saying Paul right now? But Paul George straight up for Pascal Siakam is just a foolish trade for the Raptors. I mean, Paul George is older. He's a worse player now at this point, even though he's more talented and smoother. Pascal just puts up better numbers every night, plays a lot more games than George. Sure, George is a better shooter, but other than that, Pascal really does everything, with the exception of handles and stuff. Pascal, at this point in their careers, I take him all around the board, with the exception of shooting and ball handling, than Paul George. So that's just how it is. George, maybe if he's healthy, can get back to that star level, right? Prime Paul George is better than prime Siakam, at least from what we've seen. But, I'm still rolling with Pac. He's much, much younger than Paul George, deals with a lot less injuries. So that's the real key piece I'd imagine the Clippers will be wanting to send back in a potential Clippers deal. I mean, Norman Powell, I would love to have him back on the squad, but for Pascal Siakam, that's not going to happen. Terrence Mann is not that intriguing to me as a prospect. Just not all that interest in the LA Clippers assets, but David Thorpe came out with a lot of interesting discussions, interesting comments regarding Pascal Siakam and all the reports that have come out of him as of late. And it's basically a summary of it was posted on Reddit by Earth. Want to give a shout out, Earth Warping. I gave it a listen, but this is summarized really well. Basically, I won't go through all the points here, but he essentially validated the video that I came out last night and said that these are leaks from the Toronto Raptors. The reports are coming from Michael Grange. That info is not coming from an agent. It's not coming from opposing teams. All this info is getting leaked from a team, and that team is going to be the Toronto Raptors, basically because they don't want to pay Pascal. And David Thorpe's predicting that Pascal will end up getting traded. He would have been extended by now if that wasn't the case. He doesn't imagine Pascal Siakam will end up risking another year of potentially making an All-NBA team to hold out for a Supermax and then see what ends up happening on that front. But Thorpe also goes on to say that it won't be a full rebuild if they keep OG and Pirtle. But, Pirtle doesn't really fit the Scotty Barnes timeline, right? Thinks trading them since they haven't extended him. No one is waiting around for an extension of extension eligible guys, which makes no sense. Mentions the fact that he wants to stay, and then trade partners are worried because he won't stay. And I've seen another report pop out that there hasn't been a drastic Pascal Siakam sweepstakes because Pat came out and said he wants to be in Toronto. He's not willing to re-sign with another team if he does end up getting dealt. So that sort of aligns with the other things that we've been hearing regarding Pascal. And a team that would want him would want to say that was a team that would want them out would say that, right? They want him on the squad. He feels there's going to be a bidding war on Siakam. And that's what Masai Ujiri is trying to do with all these reports. If Masai's partial rebuild, he'll want draft picks. If you're doing a full rebuild, you're trading everyone, not named Scotty Barnes or Precious, interestingly enough. Doesn't think Pirtle lines up that well with the timeline. And Hector speculates that OKC, New Orleans, as well as Utah will be possible Siakam trades. So, teams out in the Western Conference, some interesting squads there. The Oklahoma City Thunder have a ridiculous amount of assets. They can give us a lot of draft picks, a lot of young players, and he kind of fits exactly what OKC kind of needs on that team. I mean, they have future MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have Josh Giddey out there. Lou Dort's on the squad. Right, they brought in Patty Mills recently, which I found interesting. Right, they have Jalen Williams, who's another sort of ball handler guard that can do his thing out there on the court. They just brought in a European star that, again, 3-point shooter guard, does his thing out there on the wings. And in the front court, they have Chet Holmgren, who's good. They have the other Jalen Williams, who gave them some solid minutes this most recent season, but they don't really have that switchable four that can come out there and do everything Siakam does. So Siakam would fit a team with Shai, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, whoever you have, Josh Giddey, that sort of backcourt, and then Chet Holmgren at your 5. He would fit that team perfectly. Now, I'd imagine one of those better young players would have to come back to the Toronto Raptors in a potential deal, unless we are just getting all of the draft picks, right? If more, not Daryl Morey, goodness gracious. If Sam Presti, I believe this is the GM down there, if he wants to give up just a haul of picks, maybe Lou Dort on top of it. If Masai's trying to go that route, the Oklahoma City Thunder are an interesting team to potentially make a deal with. That'd be one of the most intriguing teams down there. Also, the Utah Jazz, which I find interesting being on this list because they have Lauri Markkanen, they have John Collins, 2 players that play Pascal Siakam's position, but also have a haul of draft picks to potentially make a move. So, I wouldn't be shocked if they could piece together some assets, maybe fire back a John Collins and a bunch of picks, something along those lines, pair Pascal Siakam alongside a Lauri Markkanen. Interesting. And then the New Orleans Pelicans, a squad. Is Zion Williamson working out or not? Would the Raptors do a Zion for Pascal Siakam trade straight up? That was some discussions being had for, come around draft night and stuff. I personally would be hesitant to bring in Zion Williamson, but the upside for Zion is pretty ridiculous. So lots of potential avenues, lots of potential stuff could be going on with Pascal. Let me know if you guys think he will end up getting traded by the end of the offseason, if you agree with Thorpe, or if you think it's all just smoke and Michael Grange is just trying to go viral on Twitter. Let me know in the comment section below. But folks, you guys have best to make it far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And if you want the latest updates on the Toronto Raptors point guard position, definitely check out this video here or there, or wherever the heck it is. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.